Picture yourself standing in the center of an oval arena, and the sand beneath your feet is white, bright, raked, almost beautiful. Except you know what is underneath the sand. You helped put it there. The arena floor is replenished with fresh sand before every major event, because by the end of the previous one, the old sand has turned dark. Above you, rising 4 stories on every side, are 80,000 human beings. You can feel their noise in your chest before you can hear individual voices. The sound is not applause. It is something older than applause, a collective exhalation of anticipation. The sound 60,000 years of predatory instinct makes when it smells blood. In your right hand, a short sword, a gladius. In your left, a rectangular scutum shield, its leather still damp from the morning's preparation. You have trained for this moment for years. You are one of the best fighters Rome has ever produced. Your name, the one they gave you here, not the one your mother used, is known in every tavern in the city. And none of that means anything right now, because the man walking toward you from the opposite gate is just as good as you are. You have watched him fight. You know exactly how he moves, exactly how he holds his shield, exactly which shoulder he favors when he is tired. You have spent months studying the way he breathes between blows, and he has spent months studying you. This is the Colosseum, the most sophisticated machine for producing human spectacle that the ancient world ever built. A structure that took 8 years and 100,000 enslaved people to raise from the ground. And that was paid for with the looted gold of a destroyed temple, half a world away. What happens in the next hour will be the only gladiatorial fight in recorded Roman history, where both men walk out alive, both men walk out free, and the most powerful emperor on earth is left with nothing to do but watch. But before I tell you about that fight, I need to tell you why the building that contained it should never have existed at all. Today, we are going inside the Colosseum. Not the tourist landmark, not the postcard backdrop, but the actual machine. We are going to examine what it was built to do. The extraordinary and deeply troubling story of how it was built. The engineering that makes it one of the genuine wonders of human construction. And the single moment in its 400-year history that none of the emperors who ordered it built could have anticipated. We are also going to ask the question that historians rarely ask in public. What does it mean that this building, this specific one, built this specific way, for this specific purpose, is the structure that has lasted? The year is 68 AD. The Emperor Nero is dead by his own hand in a villa outside Rome, reportedly uttering the words, "Qualis artifex pereo," what an artist dies in me. He was 30 years old. He had ruled for 14 years. And in those 14 years, he had done something that no Roman emperor before him had dared to do, and that no Roman emperor after him would be forgiven for attempting. He had taken Rome's public land for himself. After the Great Fire of 64 AD, a fire that consumed 10 of Rome's 14 districts, and that many Romans suspected Nero had started deliberately. The emperor seized the cleared land at the heart of the city and built himself a palace, not a palace in the ordinary sense. A complex so vast it was called the Domus Aurea, the Golden House, and it covered somewhere between 100 and 300 acres in the center of the most densely populated city on earth. It had a private lake. It had a revolving dining room. It had corridors inlaid with ivory and gems. And at its entrance stood a bronze statue of Nero himself, 120 feet tall, modeled on the Colossus of Rhodes. Nero didn't just take land from the people. He put himself at the center of Rome, literally, physically, unmistakably in the place where the people's city used to be. And then he died, and everything he had built became a problem that his successor had to solve. Let me stop the political history for a moment and ask you to think about one specific person. His name is not recorded. That almost no one's name is recorded from this part of the story, which is itself a fact worth sitting with. He was from Judea, modern-day Israel and Palestine, and he had been a free man until the Roman legions of General Titus arrived in 70 AD and tore apart Jerusalem stone by stone. The Second Temple, the most sacred site in Judaism, and one of the wonders of the ancient world, was burned. Its gold was stripped. Its artifacts, the menorah, the silver trumpets, the golden table of showbread, were loaded onto wagons and sent to Rome. And the people of Judea were loaded onto wagons too. Josephus, the Jewish historian who witnessed the siege, wrote that 97,000 people were taken captive in that campaign alone. Some were sent to die in the arenas of the provinces. Some were sold at markets across the empire. Between 60,000 and 100,000 were brought to Rome to do the work that needed doing. The work that needed doing was carrying stone, travertine limestone, quarried in Tivoli 20 miles east of Rome, each block weighing several tons. The road from Tivoli to Rome had to be specially reinforced to carry the weight of what was coming. Hundreds of thousands of tons of stone, moved by human hands, pulled by oxen, rolled on timber, over 20 miles of Italian countryside, day after day, season after season. The man from Judea did not know, and could not have known, that the building he was raising stone by stone would stand for 2,000 years. He did not know that tourists from a civilization that had not yet been born would photograph it against a blue sky and upload those photographs to a network of connected machines he could not have conceived. He only knew the weight of the stone, the cut of the harness, and the sound the foreman made when he needed to move faster. The Colosseum was built on a political calculation. It was built by people who had no choice, and it was funded by the destruction of a civilization. That is the foundation, not just the engineering foundation, but the moral one on which everything else rests. After Nero's death came what historians call the year of 4 emperors, 69 AD. 4 men claimed the throne of Rome in 12 months. 3 of them died in the attempt. The 4th was a general named Titus Flavius Vespasianus, Vespasian, who had been prosecuting the war in Judea when news reached him that Rome was in chaos. He handed command to his son Titus, marched west, and by October of 69 AD, he was emperor. Vespasian was not a natural aristocrat. He came from a family of tax collectors in the Sabine Hills. He had risen entirely through military competence, decades of campaigns in Britain, in Germany, in North Africa, in Judea. The Roman senatorial class looked down on him. He reportedly didn't care. He was famously crude, famously practical, and famously funny. When told by his doctors that he was dying, he reportedly stood up and said an emperor should die on his feet, and died standing. But Vespasian understood something about power that Nero had never grasped. Legitimacy in Rome was not purchased by gold or marble. It was purchased by the opinion of the Roman people. And the Roman people were furious still, years after his death, about Nero's golden house, about a private lake in the center of their city, about a 120-foot statue of one man where a neighborhood used to be. Vespasian made a decision that was simultaneously a political masterstroke, a propaganda triumph, and a genuine act of public generosity. He drained Nero's lake. He demolished what remained of the Golden House. And on that ground, on the very land that Nero had stolen from the Roman people, he ordered the construction of something that would belong to everyone. An inscription found at the Colosseum reads, "The Emperor Vespasian ordered this new amphitheater to be erected from the proceeds of the sale of the booty from Jerusalem, the lake of Nero, the labor of the conquered." Rome's greatest gift to its own people was built entirely from things taken from others. Now, let me tell you what was actually built, because the Colosseum is not merely large. It is large in a way that required solutions to engineering problems that had never been solved before, and that modern architects still find instructive. The outer dimensions, 189 meters long, 156 meters wide, 48.5 meters tall, roughly the height of a 15-story building. The outer wall used 100,000 cubic meters of travertine limestone, held together not by mortar, but by 300 tons of iron clamps. The secondary walls are volcanic tufa. The bias, the inner bowl, the part that actually holds the weight of 80,000 human beings, is Roman concrete. Opus caementicium, a mixture of volcanic ash, lime, and seawater, whose chemistry produces a material that actually strengthens over time, rather than weakening. Modern engineers studying the Colosseum's concrete have found that it has become denser and harder over the past 2,000 years, not more brittle. The seating system was a masterpiece of crowd management. 80 numbered arched entrances at ground level 76 for the public, 4 reserved for the emperor and elite. Each archway led directly to a numbered vomitorium, a passageway that funneled spectators to their designated section. An estimated 50,000 to 80,000 people could fill the Colosseum and empty it completely in under 15 minutes. Modern stadium designers study this system. Major sports arenas built today still use the same fundamental principles of radial entry and exit that Roman engineers worked out in the 1st century. Above the top tier, a retractable awning, the velarium could be extended to shade the entire audience from the Roman sun. It was operated by a crew of 1,000 sailors from the fleet at Misenum, deployed to Rome specifically for this purpose. The rigging required to extend and retract it was the most complex mechanical system in the Roman world. And below the arena floor, the hypogeum, added by the Emperor Domitian after the Colosseum's opening, this underground network of tunnels and chambers fundamentally changed what the arena could do. 80 elevator shafts, each requiring 8 workers pulling simultaneously, could raise animals, scenery, gladiators, and entire set pieces forests of real trees, artificial mountains, mechanical fountains directly onto the arena floor from below, without warning, from any point on the surface. Emperor Trajan, in 107 AD, celebrated his victories in Dacia with 123 consecutive days of games involving 10,000 gladiators and 11,000 animals. The logistics of that, the feeding, housing, training, scheduling, medical care, and transportation involved made the Colosseum not just a building, but the hub of an entire industrial complex that extended across the empire. Animals were shipped from North Africa, from the Middle East, from the forests of Germania, species that had never been seen in Rome. Rhinoceroses, hippopotamuses, ostriches appeared in the arena as part of spectacles designed to demonstrate that Rome's reach extended to the edges of the known world. If an animal existed somewhere on Earth, Rome could put it in an arena and kill it in front of an audience. That was the message. And that was always the message. But here is the thing about the Colosseum that the postcards and the tour guides almost never say out loud. Vespasian did not build the Colosseum because he loved the games. He built it because he needed the people of Rome to love him, and he understood, with the cold clarity of a general who had spent a lifetime reading human nature, exactly what the Roman people wanted. They wanted to feel like the center of the world. They wanted bread, and they wanted spectacle. And most of all, they wanted to forget that 4 emperors had died in a single year, and that the city was still trembling from the aftershock. The political calculation is written into the building's location. It is not on the edge of the city, like most amphitheaters of the era. It is at the geographic center, too, where Nero's private lake was. In the place where the Roman people had been told they were not allowed. The Vespasian did not just build them a new arena. He returned to them the very land that had been taken. Every Roman walking into the Colosseum was walking on the ghost of Nero's arrogance, and they knew it. There is a secondary calculation, equally deliberate. The funding source, the Jerusalem temple's goal, the Judean prisoners, was public knowledge. The inscription says so explicitly. And this was not accounting It was propaganda. It told the Roman people that their entertainment had been paid for by Rome's enemies, built by Rome's captives, and placed at the center of Rome's world. The Colosseum was a three-dimensional argument that Rome had conquered everything worth conquering. Vespasian died in 79 AD, 3 stories into the project. He had one last reported joke on his deathbed: "I think I am becoming a god." Roman emperors were traditionally deified after death. Vespasian thought this was funny. His son Titus finished what he started. 80 AD, the night before the opening of the Colosseum. Titus had endured a reign that had been, from the beginning, a catalog of disasters. 2 months after becoming emperor, Vesuvius erupted and buried Pompeii. Weeks later, a fire burned Rome for 3 days. Then plagued the worst the city had seen in a generation. But the people were exhausted, frightened, and looking at their new emperor for a sign that the gods were not angry with them. Titus needed the opening of the Colosseum to be perfect, to picture the city the night before. 100,000 people who have traveled to Rome from across the empire, sleeping in the streets because every inn is full. Vendors selling food and wine from carts in every piazza. The smell of animals, lions, bears, bulls, exotic creatures shipped from 3 continents rising from the holding pens beneath the arena. The arena floor freshly sanded, the seats freshly painted, the velarium ropes tested and retested by the naval crew who will man them at dawn. And somewhere in the city, in one of the gladiatorial training schools nearby, 2 men are preparing for tomorrow in different ways. One is called Priscus. He is of Celtic origin, Gaul, most likely, and he has been fighting in the arenas long enough that his body has become a record of every mistake he has ever made. Scars on the forearms from shields he was too slow to raise. A thickened ridge above one eye from a blow that should have killed him. He sharpens his gladius in the dark and doesn't sleep. The other is called Verus, because born free, unlike Priscus, which means he came here voluntarily, which is a fact that requires you to understand something about Rome that is uncomfortable to confront. The arena paid, that it paid in money, in fame, in the kind of celebrity that could elevate a man of no social standing to something approaching public adoration. Verus had made that calculation and stepped into training willingly. He sits in his cell and stares at the wall, and whatever he is thinking, he keeps it to himself. Tomorrow, these 2 men will fight each other on the opening day of the greatest arena ever built. In front of an emperor, in front of 80,000 people, for a prize neither of them has been told they will receive. The morning of the opening games, 80 AD, Titus presided from the imperial box at the north end of the arena. The crowd noise, by all accounts, was unlike anything Rome had heard. The historian Cassius Dio records that over the 100-day course of the games, 9,000 wild animals were killed. In a single day, 5,000 animals died. Executions were staged at midday. Condemned criminals sent into the arena, unarmed and naked. To face the beasts, acrobats performed between events. Naval battles were reenacted on a flooded floor in the early days, before the hypogeum made that impossible. But the fight that Rome talked about afterward, the one that the poet Martial chose to preserve, the one that has survived as the only detailed account of a gladiatorial combat that exists anywhere in the historical record, happened on the very first day. When Priscus and Verus walked into the arena together, it's what Martial describes, is not what the crowd expected. Gladiatorial matches were supposed to end decisively. 1 man standing, 1 man down. The crowd and the emperor deciding whether the fallen fighter deserved to live or die. The whole theater of the thing depended on that resolution. Ambiguity was not part of the design. What happened instead was this. Priscus and Verus fought each other to an absolute standstill, not for minutes, for what the accounts suggest was a prolonged period, exhausting both men and the crowd simultaneously. Neither could gain a decisive advantage. Every attack was answered. Every defensive move was anticipated. The crowd, Martial tells us, began shouting for the emperor to end it, to declare missio, to release both fighters. But Titus had his own law. The fight continued until one man raised his finger in surrender. And then something happened that Martial says had never happened under any emperor before, and that he implies will never happen again. Both men raised their fingers at the same moment. Both men, at the same instant, simultaneously acknowledged that they could not defeat each other. Not that they would not, that they could not. They recognized it in each other's eyes, in each other's breathing, in the particular stillness that falls between two opponents who have been studying each other for long enough to know everything. Titus looked at the two men standing in his arena on the opening day of his greatest public achievement, with 80,000 people watching. And he made a decision that defied the entire logic of the institution he had just built. He sent both men a rudis, a wooden sword, the symbol of freedom, not for one man, for both. Martial wrote, "Equal they fought, equal they yielded. To both Titus sent wooden swords, and to both palms. This has happened under no prince but you, Titus. Two fought, and both won." And then Priscus and Verus walked out of the arena, alive, free, together, into a Rome that had just watched its greatest institution built to produce one winner and one loser, designed to demonstrate that conflict has a resolution, engineered to ensure that someone always loses, produce something it was never designed to produce, an ending where both men won. We don't know what happened to them after that, where they went, whether they fought again, voluntarily, for money, whether they stayed in Rome or found their way back to wherever they came from. History records their names, records the fight, records the wooden swords, and then the record stops. They walked out, and the crowd saw them go. And then the next event began. Now, I want to tell you something about the Colosseum that most guides and documentaries skip past, because it is uncomfortable and it complicates the simple narrative of Roman greatness. The gladiatorial fights that the Colosseum is famous for were, in most cases, not the death battles that popular culture depicts. Gladiators were extraordinarily expensive to train. Estimates suggest the cost of producing a single competent gladiator was equivalent to years of an ordinary Roman's wages. Trainers and owners had strong financial incentives to keep their fighters alive. The historical record shows that many gladiators fought dozens of times over multi-year careers and retired with their lives, their freedom, and in some cases genuine celebrity. But the execution sessions, the midday events were different. These were not matches between trained fighters. These were the damnatio ad bestias, condemnation to the beasts, criminals, prisoners of war, Christians, members of whatever group Rome had decided needed to be made an example of, brought into the arena unarmed, sometimes tied to stakes and killed by animals in front of the crowd. The crowd ate lunch and watched. The children watched. This was not a spectacle for a specialized audience. It was civic life. It was normal. The Colosseum ran for roughly 400 years. Historians estimate that between 400,000 and 1 million people died within its walls over that period. Gladiators, condemned prisoners, executed criminals, and animals in numbers beyond counting. The largest species of North African lion was driven to regional extinction by the arena's demands. The same fate befell several other large predator species from across the Mediterranean world. The Colosseum did not just consume human beings, it consumed ecosystems. And yet, the engineering was extraordinary, and the crowd management was sophisticated beyond anything else that existed. The spectacle was genuinely magnificent. And on the opening day, an emperor watched two men fight to a draw, broke his own protocol, and freed them both. The Colosseum is not a simple thing. It never was. In 399 AD, the Emperor Honorius banned gladiatorial combat. He banned it again in 404. The second ban followed a specific incident. A monk named Telemachus had entered the arena during a fight, stepped between the two combatants, and been killed by the crowd for interrupting the spectacle. His death, according to the historian Theodoret, was what finally moved Honorius to enforce the ban. A single man, unarmed, stepping into the most dangerous arena in the world, not to fight, but to stop a fight, and being killed for it, and that killing ending the games. The last gladiatorial combat in the Colosseum's history occurred, by most accounts, sometime in the early 5th century. The animal hunts continued for another century after that. For the last recorded event in the Colosseum was in 523 AD. By then, the Western Roman Empire had been gone for nearly 50 years. What followed was centuries of slow dismantling. Earthquakes in 442 and 1349 collapsed sections of the outer wall. Medieval Roman families, the Frangipani clan, most prominently converted parts of the structure into a fortress. Stone was stripped for building material across the city. The travertine was burned into lime for mortar. The iron clamps were pried out and melted down. Estimates suggest that 2/3 of the original Colosseum's material was removed and repurposed in the medieval period. Much of it went into the construction of Rome's churches and palaces. Some of it, historians believe, went into the building of St. Peter's Basilica, the same material that enslaved Judean prisoners carried from Tivoli to build an emperor's gift to Rome. That same stone was later used to build Christianity's central monument. History has a long memory and a strange sense of irony. In 2023, archaeologists working in the Colosseum's hypogeum announced the discovery of a previously unknown chamber beneath the arena's eastern section, a large room with traces of elaborate fresco painting, accessible through a passage that had been sealed deliberately in the late imperial period. The frescoes show traces of blue and red mineral pigment, with partial imagery not yet fully analyzed. Who used it, and for what, remains unknown. In the same year, analysis of pollen samples taken from the Colosseum's soil layers confirmed what some historians had theorized for decades. In the medieval period, after the games ended and before the stone was stripped, the Colosseum had been a garden. Wildflowers, medicinal herbs, and woody shrubs had colonized the abandoned arena floor, growing in the accumulated soil of 4 centuries of sand and blood. One botanical survey in the 19th century cataloged over 400 plant species growing inside the Colosseum's walls, many of them with seeds that could only have arrived in the dung of animals shipped from distant continents. The arena that had consumed ecosystems had become, in its abandonment, an ecosystem of its own. Today, 6 million people visit the Colosseum every year. It is the most visited monument in Europe. They photograph it from every angle. They walk through the arched entrances. They stand on the viewing platforms above the hypogeum. They look down at the arena floor, the original wooden surface long gone, only the underground revealed below, and they try to imagine what it was like. Most of them take photographs and move on, and some of them stand still for a moment. In that stillness, if you let it, the building will tell you several things simultaneously. It will tell you that Rome was real, that the scale of what it built and what it destroyed was real, that the 100,000 people who carried those stones were real, that Priscus and Verus were real, that they stood on this ground, that they fought until neither could go on, and that they both walked out free. It will tell you that the most powerful communication technology of the ancient world was not language, not writing, not the dispatch of armies. It was architecture, a building that tells you, every time you look at it, we could do this. We were capable of this scale, this precision, this sustained organizational effort, whatever else we were. And the record is not flattering. In places, we were also capable of this. And it will ask you, if you stay long enough, and if you are willing to hear it, the question that the building has always asked: what do you build your spectacles on? What is underneath the sand in your arena? whose labor, whose loss, whose destroyed civilization made it possible for you to stand here and watch. The Colosseum does not answer that question. It only asks it. It has been asking it for 2,000 years. Priscus and Verus raised their fingers at the same moment and were given wooden swords. We don't know what they thought about it. We don't know if they were relieved or afraid of what came next, or simply too exhausted to feel anything at all. We know they walked out. We know they were free. The building they walked out of is still there, standing in its original city, still asking its question, still waiting for an answer that satisfies it.